Have you ever watched someone learn something new, and it just seems to click? You see them pick up a new skill, a new concept, or a new piece of information with an ease that feels almost magical. And as you watch, a single, persistent question forms in your mind. How do they do that so fast? It's a question that echoes in many different parts of our lives. You might see it in a casual setting. One person sits down with a 1,000-piece puzzle and methodically finds the connections, the picture emerging from the chaos. Another person, faced with the exact same puzzle, sees only a jumble of disconnected shapes and colors, their frustration mounting with every failed attempt. Maybe you've felt this disparity in a more formal environment, like a classroom. The professor explains a notoriously difficult concept, perhaps a complex mathematical theorem or a dense philosophical argument. While most of the class is still trying to grasp the basic premise, one student seems to understand it right away. They're not just following along, they're asking insightful questions, connecting the new idea to previous lessons. Or perhaps you've witnessed this phenomenon at work, a place where competence and speed are often highly valued. A new team member is hired, and on their first week, they're tasked with learning a complicated, custom-built software program. While you and your colleagues remember spending weeks fumbling through the menus and calling IT for help, this new person seems to master it in just a few days. They're already discovering shortcuts you never knew existed. In all these situations, it's easy to fall back on a simple explanation. Some people are just born with a special talent for learning. They seem to absorb information like a sponge, effortlessly soaking up knowledge and skills. Meanwhile, the rest of us feel like we're trying to fill a bucket with a tiny hole in it. We pour in the information, we put in the hours, but we struggle to keep up, and the knowledge seems to leak away. This experience can be more than just frustrating, it can be deeply demoralizing. It can lead you to question your own abilities, making you wonder, am I just not smart enough? Or, did I miss out on some secret skill that everyone else has? You start to believe there's a fundamental difference, a gap in intelligence that you can never hope to cross. If you've ever felt this way, you need to know one thing. This feeling is incredibly common. It's a silent struggle shared by millions of people who are trying to better themselves. To make this more concrete, let's imagine a familiar scenario. You decide you want to learn a new language. You're motivated. You have a goal in mind, maybe an upcoming trip, or just the desire for self-improvement. You download a well-regarded app, full of excitement and anticipation for the journey ahead. The first lesson is fun, engaging, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. You commit to it. For the first week, you're diligent. You practice every single day, completing your lessons and reviewing the new vocabulary. Then, a few weeks later, you meet up with a friend who, by coincidence, started learning the same language at the exact same time as you, using the very same app. You watch in astonishment as they are already forming simple sentences, asking basic questions, and understanding the gist of conversations happening around them. Their pronunciation sounds natural, their confidence is obvious. Meanwhile, you are still struggling to remember the vocabulary from week 1. You're trying to recall the correct way to say hello and thank you, and the grammatical rules feel arbitrary and impossible to memorize. The comparison is unavoidable. It feels like you are walking, making slow but steady progress, while they are sprinting, covering huge distances with what looks like minimal effort. This stark difference in speed can be incredibly disheartening. It can make you want to give up entirely. The initial excitement you felt begins to fade, replaced by a nagging sense of inadequacy. You might start to believe that this new skill is simply not for you. You tell yourself a story. I'm just not a language person, or my brain isn't wired for this. You conclude that your friend has a natural gift, and you don't. But what if I told you that this entire narrative is wrong? What if this difference in learning speed is not usually about natural talent, innate intelligence, or some kind of gift? What if it's more about the methods they are using? What if your friend, perhaps without even realizing it, is engaging with the material in a way that is fundamentally different and far more effective? The person who learns quickly isn't necessarily smarter. They aren't a genius. They are simply using strategies that work better with the fundamental design of the human brain. They are learning in a way that is brain-friendly. Whether consciously or by accident, they have stumbled upon a set of universal rules for making information stick. They've found a way to work their brain's natural tendencies, not against them. And here is the most important part. These rules are not complicated secrets reserved for a gifted few. They are simple, science-backed techniques that anyone, including you, can learn, understand, and apply to their own life, starting today. The real puzzle isn't your brain. It's the fact that you were never given the instruction manual for it. We are taught to learn our entire lives, but rarely are we taught to learn effectively. In this video, we are going to give you that instruction manual. We will unpack the myths and reveal the machinery of learning. We will explore the simple yet powerful science behind why our brains learn at different rates. We'll look at the fascinating fields of neuroscience and cognitive psychology to understand what's really going on. We will look at what is happening inside your head on a biological level when you try to remember a new fact, forge a new memory, or master a complex new physical skill. But this isn't just a theory lesson. More importantly, we will translate that science into practical, easy-to-follow steps that you can start using tomorrow. No PhD required. We will show you how small, consistent changes to your daily habits, how you pay attention, how you review information, how you rest, and even how you think about your own abilities can make a huge, compounding difference over time. By the end of this journey, you will have a toolkit of evidence-based strategies. You will learn how to close that frustrating gap between you and the fast learners, and in doing so, become a more effective, efficient, and confident learner yourself, no matter what you want to achieve. Have you ever looked at someone who seems to pick up new skills effortlessly, a new language, a musical instrument, a complex piece of software, and wondered, what's their secret? Why do some people just seem to learn faster? It's a question that can be frustrating, and it often leads us to a simple but deeply misleading conclusion, that some people are just born with smarter brains. But what if that entire premise is wrong? What if the secret isn't about the brain you were born with, but about how you train the brain you have? The most important thing to understand from the very beginning is that your brain is not fixed. For centuries, the prevailing scientific view was that the adult brain was essentially a finished product. It was seen as a static block of concrete that you are stuck with for life. Once you reached adulthood, the thinking went, the fundamental structure of your brain was set, and your capacity for learning and change was limited. This idea, though now thoroughly debunked, still casts a long shadow over how we perceive our own abilities. Instead, a much more accurate and empowering analogy is to think of your brain like a muscle. No one expects to walk into a gym for the first time and lift the heaviest weight. You start with what you can handle, and through consistent, challenging effort, your muscles adapt. They tear down and rebuild stronger. Your brain operates on a remarkably similar principle. With the right kind of mental exercise, it can grow stronger, faster, and more efficient. Every time you challenge yourself to learn a new chord on the guitar, solve a tricky logic puzzle, or stumble through a new language, you are putting your brain through a workout. This incredible fundamental property of your brain is called neuroplasticity. It's a scientific way of saying your brain has a remarkable capacity to reorganize itself, to change and adapt based on your experiences, thoughts, and actions. It's not just a metaphor, it's a physical reality. Every time you learn something new, you are physically changing the connections inside your brain. Think of your brain's 86 billion neurons as a vast, interconnected city. When you learn a new fact or skill, it's like building a new road between 2 points in that city. The first time you travel that road, it might be a narrow, bumpy dirt path. But the more you use it, the more you practice and recall that information, the more that path gets paved, widened, and reinforced, turning into a multi-lane superhighway. The connection becomes stronger, faster, and more automatic. Understanding this is profoundly powerful and hopeful. It puts you in the driver's seat of your own development. Your intelligence isn't a fixed quantity you've been assigned. It's a dynamic process you can actively shape. Yet despite this incredible potential, many people believe learning myths that hold them back, trapping them in a cycle of frustration. They might think, "I'm just not a math person," after struggling with a single algebra concept. Or, "I've always had a bad memory," resigning themselves to a life of forgotten names and misplaced keys. These are classic examples of what Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that your abilities, your intelligence, and your talents are innate, carved in stone. It says you have a certain amount, and that's that. The danger of this mindset is that it makes you see challenges as threats, rather than opportunities. Failure isn't a chance to learn. It's a verdict on your inherent ability. But the truth, confirmed by decades of neuroscience, is that your brain is constantly creating new pathways and pruning old ones in response to your needs. It is a living, evolving system. People who learn quickly aren't necessarily born with a different kind of brain. They have simply, whether consciously or not, adopted habits that build strong, efficient neural pathways for learning. They've paved more superhighways. And here is the best news of all. You can build the same pathways too. It's not magic, and it's not reserved for a select few. It just takes the right approach and consistent effort. This means your past struggles with a subject don't define your future potential. It doesn't matter if you failed algebra in high school or if you've tried and failed to learn Spanish 3 times. Your brain today is ready for a new challenge. So what are these right approaches? What are the secrets of these so-called fast learners? They're not complex, esoteric theories that require a PhD in neuroscience to understand. They are a set of simple, practical, and powerful brain hacks, all grounded in decades of cognitive science and educational psychology research. Throughout this journey, we will explore the core pillars of effective learning. We'll start with attention, the crucial gateway to all learning. We'll dive into practice, but not just any practice, the specific, deliberate kind that truly builds skill. We'll uncover the power of retrieval, the act of actively pulling information from your memory. We'll learn about spacing, the simple technique of spreading your practice over time for maximum retention. And we'll even explore the surprising power of sleep, the unsung hero of memory consolidation that you already use every single night. Each of these elements plays a critical, non-negotiable role in how quickly and deeply you learn. Think of them as a set of keys. You might be able to force a lock with one key, but when you have the full set and know how to use each one, the door to your brain's incredible potential swings wide open. This video is your guide to finding and using those keys. We'll break down the science behind each principle into simple, actionable terms, and most importantly, connect each point to a concrete habit you can adopt today. So, let's officially forget the idea that some people are just naturals. Natural talent is often just the result of stumbling upon these effective techniques early on. Learning is a skill, and like any other skill, whether it's cooking, driving, or coding, it can be systematically analyzed, practiced, and improved with the right tools and techniques. By the end of our time together, you won't just understand why some people learn faster. You will be one of them. Get ready to steal these brain hacks and learn faster, more effectively, and with more enjoyment than you ever thought possible. The journey to becoming a better, more confident learner starts right now with your very next thought. To truly understand how we learn and why some people seem to pick things up faster than others, we first need to journey inside the mind. Our starting point isn't a classroom or a library, but the very engine of comprehension, our memory. Think of your brain as a massive, intricate postal service, constantly processing an unimaginable volume of information. To master learning, you must first become the master of this internal mailroom. Every single second of your life, an avalanche of information arrives at your brain's doorstep. It's an endless stream of sensory data. The sights you see, the color of the sky, the face of a friend, the sounds you hear, the distant siren, the melody of a song, the hum of your computer, the feelings you experience, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the ache in your muscles after a workout. And that's not even counting the constant internal chatter of your own thoughts, memories, and daydreams. It's a torrent, a relentless flood of data packets all vying for entry. In the face of this overwhelming flood, your brain has a crucial first line of defense, a gatekeeper. This is your attention. In our mailroom analogy, your attention is the head mail sorter. Its job is one of the most critical in the entire operation. It stands at the main conveyor belt, watching the endless stream of mail go by. This sorter must make split-second decisions, deciding which pieces of mail are important, relevant, or interesting enough to be processed further, and which ones are just junk mail, background noise to be discarded immediately. It's not a passive observer. It's an active filter. It's what allows you to read a book in a noisy cafe, tuning out the clatter of cups and conversations to focus on the words on the page. This is called selective attention. The implications of this are profound. If you are not paying attention to something, that information doesn't just get put on a waiting list. It never even makes it past the front door. For your brain, it effectively ceases to exist. It's like a vital, handwritten letter that gets tossed into the recycling bin before anyone even knows it arrived. This is why a momentary distraction, a notification on your phone, a sudden noise outside, can completely derail your train of thought. Your attention, the sorter, turned away for just a second, and the crucial piece of information you were about to grasp was discarded as junk. This is the non-negotiable first rule of learning. You cannot learn what you do not attend to. If your attention is divided, you're essentially asking your mail sorter to do two jobs at once, and it will inevitably miss important mail. Your attention must be focused and directed at the information for the process of learning to even have a chance to begin. Now, what happens to the mail that your attention deems worthy? It doesn't go straight into the vast warehouse of long-term memory. Instead, it's passed to a special, high-security sorting table. This area is called your working memory. Your working memory is the temporary holding area in your brain, your mental countertop. It's not for storage. It's the conscious part of your mind where you actively think about things, juggle ideas, and try to make sense of new information. It's what you're using right now to hold the beginning of this sentence in your mind so you can understand the end of it. When you follow a new recipe, you hold the next few steps in your working memory. When someone tells you their phone number, you rehearse it in your working memory just long enough to dial it. Let's try a quick experiment. Imagine you are trying to solve a simple math problem in your head, like 14 times 5, without a pen and paper. Go ahead. You likely held the numbers 14 and 5 in your mind. Then, you probably broke the problem down. Perhaps you thought, okay, 10 times 5 is 50, and 4 times 5 is 20. You held on to that 50 while you calculated the 20. Then you retrieved the 50 and added the 20 to get your final answer, 70. All of that, the holding, the manipulating, the combining, that was your working memory in action. This mental workspace is incredibly powerful and absolutely essential for reasoning, problem-solving, and learning. But it has one critical, non-negotiable limitation. It is shockingly small. It's not a sprawling workbench. It's more like a tiny, personal-sized tray table. Decades of cognitive psychology research have shown that most people can only hold about 4 chunks or pieces of information in their working memory at any one time. Just 4. This isn't a metaphor. It's a fundamental constraint of our cognitive architecture. Once you try to shove a 5th item onto that table, you either forget one of the first 4 or you start to confuse them. Something has to give. This, right here, is one of the biggest secrets to understanding learning. This small capacity of your working memory creates a bottleneck. Imagine a superhighway with 10 lanes of traffic representing all the information your attention could possibly grab. But to get to its destination, long-term memory, all the traffic has to squeeze through a single-lane tunnel. That tunnel is your working memory. This bottleneck is a key reason why learning can feel so hard sometimes. It's the primary source of cognitive friction. When you try to cram too much new information into your working memory at once, or too quickly, you create a cognitive traffic jam. Things start to fall off the table. The information doesn't get processed properly. Connections aren't made. It's a state of cognitive overload. Think about the last time you sat through a lecture where the speaker was talking a mile a minute, introducing one complex, unfamiliar idea right after another without pausing for breath. You're trying to understand concept A, but before you can grasp it, they've already moved on to B, C, and D. You might feel a sense of panic, of being left behind. You might start to think, I'm just not smart enough for this. But that's not it. What you're experiencing is your working memory hitting its absolute limit and shutting down. You haven't failed. The information was simply presented in a way that was hostile to your brain's design. This insight changes everything. The person who seems to be a slow learner might not be slow at all. They might just be trying to load too many items onto their small mental workbench at the same time, causing everything to crash. The fast learner, on the other hand, may have intuitively learned to respect this limit. They feed their brain information in a way it can actually process. So, the first and most crucial step to learning faster is to stop fighting your brain. It's to respect the strict limits of your attention and your working memory. You need to become a conscious gatekeeper for your own mind. You must be ruthless in what you allow to occupy that precious, limited mental real estate. This means choosing what you pay attention to very, very carefully. It means creating an environment free from distractions before you even begin a learning session. And when you are learning something new, you must deliberately throttle the flow of information. Focus on just one and only one key idea at a time. Wrestle with it. Understand it. Then, and only then, move on to the next. At most, try to connect two related ideas. Don't try to drink from the fire hose. This is why multitasking is the enemy of learning. When you think you're multitasking, you're actually just rapidly switching your attention back and forth. Each switch comes with a cognitive cost, emptying and reloading your working memory and making deep processing impossible. Don't try to absorb a massive complex chapter in one go. Instead, you must learn the art of chunking. By breaking down complex topics into smaller, more manageable chunks of information, you are essentially pre-processing the mail for your brain. You are presenting it with single, coherent packages that fit neatly onto the 4 slots of your working memory. This gives your brain the space it needs to examine the chunk, connect it to what you already know, and prepare it for transfer to long-term storage. This simple, strategic shift, from trying to force-feed your brain to working with its natural design, is transformative. It's the difference between fighting the current and letting it carry you. By managing your attention and respecting the bottleneck of your working memory, you don't just avoid frustration, you unlock your true potential. You'll find that you're not a slow learner after all. You were just using the wrong manual for your own mind. Like and subscribe. Health is wealth. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'd see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.